4, 3, 2, we're live.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. It is currently 8 a.m. like normal. It is 47 degrees outside. It's a cool 47 degrees outside as well, so light jacket weather for sure. We have a high of 68 degrees today, so you might be able to shed it, but if it stays overcast like this and it stays kind of windy like it's been, then you might want to keep it on. But 68 degrees is not a bad temperature to be sitting at when the afternoon rolls around. So, with that being said, traffic conditions going into Tulsa are pretty great, to be honest with you. I don't know if nobody goes to work on Friday. I don't know what's going on in the world of business, but there doesn't appear to be anybody. There's more people coming back from Tulsa than there are going into Tulsa at the moment. So, is Friday like an off day in the business world now? Are we doing a 4-day work week? What's happening, folks?
Did COVID end Friday work days?
I don't know, but your commute into Tulsa is going to be really great. So if you're driving into Tulsa to go to work, or I don't know, just do some shopping or something, it's going to be a pretty easy commute. With that being said, there's really nothing going on in Owasso over the next couple of days.
Nope.
It's just the event calendars are,
At least for the rest of this week,
clear.
Anyway.
However, I did see Owassoisms make a post last night, and I posted it to the page, our page as well. Apparently, a 16-year-old high school student, a girl, went to the Bailey Medical Center saying that she was involved in an altercation or a fight at school, and then she was shortly pronounced dead afterwards. So around 3:30ish is according to the Owassoisms post. So a young girl was involved in an altercation at school, and it ended up killing her. I don't know what exactly transpired, but I'm sure that will come out in the subsequent investigation done by, hopefully, the authorities, not the school. The school should know what's going on and be informed of what's going on, but I don't think the school should be doing its own investigatory stuff at this point. So this is a legal issue, not a
school issue.
Not a school issue anymore. So hopefully they figure out what exactly took place and the charges are pressed against the correct individual who was involved in the fight, because the actions have consequences, folks. So you'd be surprised how frail the human body is. I mean, the human body is a thing of, it's amazing, the human body. Like the stuff that we're able to survive, some of the stories of human capability to survive what is seemingly a possible situation, it's breathtaking too. But at the same time, the fragility of human life is also amazing. I mean, hearing stories of people who get in car wrecks and their hearts stop because of the impact. Like, there was physically nothing wrong with their bodies. Their hearts just stopped because of the way their body jarred. So, and if you've ever been in a fight, I mean, knocking somebody out is not as hard as you think it is, especially if they're loose. Like, you connect and you pop. I mean, if anybody who's been in boxing knows, like, if you get a good uppercut and you hit that right spot and they pop their neck back and they pinch that nerve and they're out. So everyone thinks it's super difficult. It's really not, especially if the person, like, that's why the knockout game is kind of so popular. Like, people just randomly punching people in the face. It's like, if nobody's expecting it and they're loose as a goose, like, their body's going to react and they're going to pinch that nerve in their
and then
their
the
neck.
head hits their
your head
the
hits
concrete, causes
boom.
a hemorrhage, whatever.
You're dead.
Dead.
You're dead. So hopefully charges are pressed against that person, and they sounds like they're going to learn the lesson the
Our
hard
hearts and
way.
prayers go out to the families that.
Our hearts and prayers go out to the family of the girl that is no longer with us. So we apologize for that. But yeah, let this be known. Actions have consequences. And I know you guys are young and in high school, but holy cow, don't. When you're as young as that, it feels like fist fighting and stuff is going to resolve all your issues. But the older you get, I mean, when you start thinking of things legally, it's gonna come back and bite you. I promise you. So With that being said, in more national news, Tucker Carlson actually posted his interview with Vladimir Putin. And it was, I haven't finished it all the way through yet. I only got a quarter of the interview left. So, but it's interesting. I don't know if I definitely don't agree with everything Vladimir Putin says. That's for sure. I was with him about his little history lesson because he had like 30-minute diatribe about Russian history and their historic claims to Ukraine, which I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm sure the Ukrainians could put together a reasonable argument of why they should be independent of Russia, but at least he had some historical history. But it's the same way with the people here in the United States. It's like, we own this land because we are native people. It's like, look, this is where we're at now. You're just going to have to learn how to deal. You know what I mean? Like, we can't be going back and repaying old debts for people who aren't even around anymore. So, I can understand his little historical context of why Ukraine belongs to Russia. However, then he wants to rid all of Ukraine of neo-Nazis. And, that's a buzzword here in the United States. Basically, if you're talking about neo-Nazis here in the United States, you've lost me. Because I think it's something that his advisors or whoever prepped him for this interview with Tucker was like, Americans love the word neo-Nazi. They'll be like, well, the neo-Nazis are the bad guys. So, and like I said, Ukraine does. They have a battalion there called the Azov Battalion, and they are like neo-Nazi, fascist style military group, and they would love to institute some type of neo-fascist Hitlerian government in Ukraine. And they're getting praise from the U.S. media because they're doing a good job killing Russians, because they have historical hatred of the Russians because of their political proclivities, or proclivities. So, but yeah, I think that is my opinion on it. I think his advisor said these are buzzwords in the United States. Say neo-Nazi, say that we have to get rid of all neo-Nazis, because that's what the left-leaning people here in the we have to get rid of all neo-Nazis. But what's a neo-Nazi here in the United States?
Anybody
who's left, anybody who's right of Stalin, or anybody who's right of Lenin.
Yeah,
that's a neo-Nazi here in the United States. Now, to the layman, you'd be like, no, that's not what a neo-Nazi. But it doesn't matter what you think; it matters what the cultural zeitgeist of the left wing thinks. So, with that being said, Vladimir Putin was definitely prepped for this interview and was using the right words to appease the left-wing cultural zeitgeist of the United States, hoping that more than likely, the people that he's trying to appease with that buzzword aren't even watching the interview or have already made up their mind about the interview. Like, Putin's the bad guy. Doesn't matter if there are neo-Nazis within Ukraine, the neo-Nazis would be better than Putin, essentially. Now, be that as it may, there doesn't seem to be an end to this war, because Putin made it very clear that he wants to rid Ukraine of all neo-Nazis, which basically means no peace until all of the neo-Nazis are gone, which is not a good sign for peace talks.
The idea of getting rid of an ideology in its totality is just insane, because they're not just going to sit there and be wiped out either. They're going to move to a neighboring country, and he's going to go, and then
get asylum.
Exactly. What's the next thing he's going to do? Is like, oh, now they're there. I must, advance further to stop these people.
Yeah. This is why in biblical times you basically wiped out all the men and took the women. It's an effective way to kill bloodlines, an effective way to kill whatever ideology or any notions of revenge to come back after you. So warfare is fought by a very different means now. So it doesn't seem like there's any room for peace talks in the near future for this particular conflict, Russia versus Ukraine. So that is not a good sign. However, one cool thing that Tucker did, other than like the interview itself. It's amazing that he was able to get it done. But what he did, he tried to negotiate or talk to Putin about releasing the American journalist. I think he's either New York Times or Washington Post, or it was the Washington Journal maybe. Excuse me. But he was trying to see if Putin would, in good faith, release that journalist back to the U.S. And I don't think that did not come to fruition, which is unfortunate. Which it would have been really cool as an act of good faith for Putin to release a journalist. And imagine how cool it would have been if Tucker had come back with a fellow American journalist, back to the U.S. being like, hey, we should really stop funding this operation.
I think it was he's from the Wall Street Journal.
Oh.
And if we've seen, I forget what it was, but there was a movie about it made a while back. I need to go back and remember, but yeah, Russia doesn't trade prisoners unless they get something out of it. It's like when we lost the
Bridge of Spies movie.
Yes, well, not that one too, but there's another one with Benedict. I think it was with Benedict Cumberbatch too.
That was The Imitation Game.
No, it's a different one because he goes to Russia. But getting back after I figure out what that movie is, like I said, the Russians, like when we had what was that WNBA player, Brittany Griner?
Oh, Brittany Griner was held in Russia, yeah.
They would not trade her unless we traded,
Yeah, we traded like a max level arms dealer or something.
The arms dealer, I forget his name too, but yeah, we traded an arms dealer. So Russia's not in the business of trading prisoners for nothing. Never have been. Like I said, they better get something out of it. Otherwise, the people will see their leader as weak. And as we all know, Putin doesn't want to be seen as weak.
Yeah, he definitely does not. And that's a shame, too, because in the movie Bridge of Spies that I was talking about, like I said, what I didn't mention when I was talking about Bridge of Spies, that took place during the Cold War. So at the height of the Cold War, whenever the American pilot was shot down in Russia, and, he was supposed to just take recon photos of what we thought were Russian nuclear missile silo sites. Anyway, he was shot down, and then they sent Tom Hanks' character in to go negotiate. And he was able to negotiate for both prisoners there. He got a student who was caught up on the wrong side of the border when they were finishing up the Berlin Wall in that haste of trying to build the wall over there between East Germany and West Germany. So he was able to negotiate for two. But in the movie, the context of the film, East Germany is
its own
country, even though it's really not.
It's part of the Soviet Union,
but it's its own
thing.
Institution, allegedly. But that's what he did. He negotiated and got both. He got the American pilot and he got the student. So that was a neat movie. Bridge of Spies is a pretty neat little film. So the interview was eye-opening, but again, it doesn't look like this conflict is going to be resolved anytime soon, unfortunately. And Tucker wasn't able to get back with that journalist, but it would have been a very cool thing if he had. So those were my takes from the interview. Was there anything else you were wanting to talk about, national news-wise?
National news-wise, the only other thing that I recall talking or hearing about was the fact that Biden's little speech that he gave was pretty bad, and he left it pretty quickly. He said his little football or whatever Super Bowl speech thing that he did last night was pretty bad. I didn't watch it, so I couldn't exactly speak on it. Then the other thing is the DOJ, the Department of Justice, has ruled that he is incapable of being filed for
being held responsible
for those documents in his garage because he has been ruled he's too old to understand what he did wrong, which makes you wonder if that's the case, how is he competent enough to be the president of the United States?
Yes, so that is a contradiction in itself. So he is not competent enough to be responsible for his actions or know the difference between whether or not it's okay to bring this is the Trump Mar-a-Lago argument. They said Trump took and stole documents that he unclassified and that the Biden government reclassified. So they arrested Trump for that. But so Biden arguably just did the same thing with his own documents that he's been keeping at his personal residence, but they've ruled him as mentally incapable of knowing that that's not a good thing to do. That is a terrifying precedent being set, folks. Joe Biden, not capable enough to know the difference between right and wrong, but he can hold Trump accountable for that. But he's also still making decisions that will affect the entire country, our country. He's not coherent enough to be responsible for his actions. And he's surrounded by people all the time. So this is definitely a political move, not a... But like I said, accountability, you can't hold politicians accountable to anything. They'll weasel their way out of it. They have the connections. They have the CIA's gathering dirt on all these people. So this is just kind of how it is. It's par for the course for politics in general. So I know that's kind of a bummer. But like I said, it was cool to see the Tucker Carlson interview, the fact that he was able to get that accomplished. It's a shame that it doesn't appear to be there's going to be any end to the conflict anytime soon. And basically, Vladimir Putin was just like, my takeaway from it was, tell the United States to stop funding these people and the war will be over in a couple of days. So if we stopped funding, the war would be over really quickly. Now, whether or not you think that's the right or wrong thing to do is up to you as a personal opinion. I'm kind of stuck in limbo right now. Like, do I want Ukraine to fall? No, but at the same time, this war's been going on for like a year now, right?
A little over.
I mean, how many people have lost their lives in this conflict? Like, I don't know. I'm definitely not like, if it was our country, it'd be like, never give up, never surrender. But here in this particular conflict, I don't know if it just doesn't, I'm not over there. I don't have boots on the grounds. I don't know what the resolve of the people fighting is. And I don't know what the resolve of the people who are, I mean, and like I said, it's like with all these, everything I've seen on Instagram, Facebook, you have all these Ukrainian women who are all over the world now. None of them seem to want to go back. Even if, let's say they won the conflict. Will these Ukrainian women who have sought asylum in all these countries, I mean, there's a ton of them here. There's a ton of them in the UK. There's a ton of them in Canada. Germany, are they going to go back and are they going to repopulate Ukraine? Probably not. They're probably pretty comfortable over here in the United States. They don't want to go back and rebuild. And that's another problem with our modern culture is people don't want to rebuild. They don't want to build. They don't want to plant a tree whose shade they will never know. They don't want to plant a tree and they will never sit under the shade of it, but their kids will. We don't live in a society like that anymore. Your grandpa who built the house with his bare hands and he lived in it and he was going to give it to his kids when he passed away. That doesn't exist anymore. We live in a society where we'll just pay somebody to build it and they're going to build it crappily and there's going to be all kinds of problems with it. But, that's the society we're building now. So I just don't foresee anybody going back to Ukraine except for, but again, the 10% of the population that's hungry enough to rebuild and go back and do it. So we'll see. Either way, our thoughts and prayers are still with the people of Ukraine and the guys out there on the field fighting.
And the family that just lost their daughter.
And the family that lost their daughter here in Owasso. But yeah, we play for a quick resolution to this conflict and hopefully a peaceful and one as well. And we hope that no more lives are lost in this silly conflict at all. So that's about all we've got for today. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and we are signing off. God bless y'all. What was the time?